When you least anticipate it, life might toss a curveball your way. Marco and I met in that way. I was a 28-year-old fitness trainer at a neighborhood gym named Cora, and my life was just as regimented and controlled as my workouts. I was on a very different path in life until Marco showed up one day, seeking a fast workout, and changed everything. Saying, "Hey, I'm Marco," he grinned so broadly that it would illuminate any room. "Heard this is where fitness queens go to get their sweat on. Would you be willing to tutor me?" As a way to assess him, I arched an eyebrow. He appeared less like your typical gym rat and more like someone who charms their way through life. "Certainly, Marco. You can become in shape quickly if you follow my example. I won't give anyone a pass, though, so be warned." As Marco chuckled, a mischievous twinkle appeared in his eyes. "I wouldn't change a thing. Gora, take the lead." Training facing Marco was like attempting to rein in an untamed horse. He has an indefatigable will and boundless vitality. Notwithstanding our easygoing banter and jokes, there was an undeniable connection and respect between us. As the days grew into weeks, I looked forward to our gym sessions more and more. These days is more about the camaraderie, the jokes, and the shared experiences than the actual training. And in the midst of all that perspiration and labor, one night as we were finishing up, Marco looked at me with a solemn expression instead of his normal smile. "I have something important to tell you, Cora. The workouts aren't my only purpose here. You have my support. I'm completely smitten with you because you possess an intensity and power that I have never witnessed in anyone else." It caught me off guard. Standing before me suddenly was Marco, the man who joked about everything. Now he was naked and truthful. To Marco, my mouth is watering. "I can't deny that you're different from what I was expecting. There's a genuine connection between us." Our mad love affair began then. It was as fierce and enthusiastic as a tempest that engulfs all in its path. I was saying "I do" to the man who had entered my gym and flipped my world upside down before I ever realized what was happening. However, the enchanted story was short-lived. Following the wedding, Marco revealed a shocking revelation that would pave the way for future conflicts. "My mother's house is where we need to go, Cora. My family is very important to me, and I will always do my best to support them." My gut churned. His mother, Maria, was a formidable opponent. She contrasted Marco's friendliness with her scathing remarks and scrutinizing gaze. Then there was his sister, Sofia, who mirrored her mother's haughtiness and contempt. "Are you certain about this, Marco? Our relationship is, to put it gently, tense with your mother and Sofia. Is this the greatest course of action?" I inquired, attempting to conceal the anxiety in my voice. With a serious look on his face, Marco took hold of my hands. "You know it's not perfect, but my family is my life, Cora. Things will be worked out. As a family, we will stand strong despite all odds. I swear to you." It was like walking onto a battleground every day when you moved into Marco's family home. Maria's home was a stronghold, her regulations, her path, or the main road. How about Sofia? Echoing her mother's every scowl and sarcastic comment, she was just like her shadow. As Maria would say, "Good morning, Cora." Her voice betrayed an air of coldness. "Don't put off washing the dishes any longer. You should also dust the living room. This place is tightly controlled." As my response was about to burst forth, I would simply nod. "Maria, I am sure it is. In my ideal world, the house would be picture perfect." From her perch at the kitchen table, Sofia would smirk as she studied me like a bug under a microscope. "All right, Cora. Also, do your best to stay up. We can do without any unnecessary extra weight here." Working never ended and days stretched on forever. There seemed to be no end to it. Every day was just like the last. I was attempting to get my bearings in a house that felt more like a minefield while cleaning and cooking. Marco appeared, although he was hardly there. I was merely a specter in his family's house. His restaurant was his entire universe. However, I was unexpectedly pregnant, which was a major setback in my life. Instead of shining a light of happiness into Maria's home, the news caused even more unrest. Pregnant, huh? Maria's gaze was intense and her words lackluster. So you can forget about getting preferential treatment. This home isn't self-sufficient. With my hand naturally resting on my belly, I remained steadfast. Listen, Maria, I am not expecting any favors. However, I do anticipate some comprehension. Your grandchild is growing inside of me. At least for a little while that silenced her. Yet that was short-lived. With each passing day the house felt smaller, the glares stronger, and the duties piling up. To no avail, Sophia. As she saw my efforts, a contented grin remained permanently on her face. You're being too slow, Cora, she would tease. Can't even manage a little bit of cleaning. To what extent will you take on the role of a mother? I repressed the want to yell or strike out in defense of Marco and the little heartbeat that was becoming stronger by the day. There was anxiety at every meal and in every moment. It was like an unwanted intruder. He made an effort in his own way, Marco. However, he was entangled in a myriad of competing priorities, including his family and his restaurant, and I merely constituted yet another ringtone in his otherwise chaotic existence. With the day's burden pressing down on me, I pleaded with Marco one night. Please speak to them. Your mother, Sophia. They treat me like I'm nothing, like I don't belong. The sound of Marco's exhaustion was audible in his sigh. Cora, those people are just stubborn. They've always been this way. Wait a little. Things will improve. Still, things remained unchanged. Stricter challenges emerged. The home became much more stuffy. Even more dogged were Maria and Sophia. As for me, all I wanted to do was stay afloat and shield the helpless little life that was depending on me. Every night as I lay in bed, watching the moon's shadow move across the room, I silently vowed to myself, I refuse to be broken by them. I refuse to be defined by their contemptuous remarks and actions. I had more strength than they realized, and eventually they would see. This mansion, this battleground, would be mine to conquer someday. The most joyous part of my life was supposed to have been becoming a mother. It was more like a baptism by fire at Maria's residence. Luca was my sunshine in the darkest of times. He brought so much happiness into my life. Still, Maria and Sophia's constant criticism and pressure drowned out any joy or happiness. Is that so, Cora? Would you mind if I hushed the little one? Whatever Luca did, even a little whimper, Maria would lash out with words as cutting as knives. I drew Luca nearer, murmuring words of solace to protect him from the hurtful criticism of his own grandmother. Maria, he is only a baby. Crybabies are noisy. They express themselves in that way. With a voice betraying her disapproval, Sophia would roll her eyes. Oh my gosh, Cora, you're totally messing up. He could be more subdued if you stopped moping about and started paying attention to him. Their remarks hurt because they brought back painful memories of how alone I felt in this home and with this family. What really got to me, though, was not only the words but also their expressions. The way they scrutinized my every move, especially after my body had changed from the pregnancy. The weight I gained became their favorite topic, a source of endless ridicule. Looks like those fitness trainer days are long gone, eh, Cora? Maria would chuckle, eyeing my figure with a smirk. Better lay off the sweets if you want to fit into your old clothes again. I clenched my fists, forcing a smile to hide the hurt. I'm proud of my body, Maria. It brought Luca into this world. The weight, it's temporary, but the love I have for my son, that's forever. But my words, my defiance, didn't matter to them. I was the outsider, the intruder in their perfect little world. And no matter how hard I tried, it never seemed to be enough. Enough was enough. The constant belittling from Maria and Sophia wasn't just chipping away at my spirit. It was igniting a fire within me. a fire to reclaim my life, my body, and my self-respect. I decided to take my journey into my own hands. Right there, in the four walls of that suffocating house, I started simple, turning a corner of my room into my personal gym. It wasn't much, just a mat, some weights, and a determination as strong as steel. "This is it, Luca," I whispered to my little boy, cradling him in one arm while setting up my phone to record. "Mommy's turning it all around, starting now." The first few days were tough. The exercises left me breathless, my muscles screaming. But each drop of sweat, each aching limb, felt like a triumph. "Think you can just bounce back, Cora?" Maria sneered one day, watching me pant through my routine. "It's not that easy, you know. Takes more than a few stretches to fix what's broken." I wiped my brow, fixing her with a steely gaze. "Watch me, Maria. I'm not just fixing what's broken. I'm building something stronger, and I don't need your approval or your snide comments." That's when I decided to go public with my journey. I started a YouTube channel and an Instagram page, sharing every struggle, every victory. It was raw, it was real, and to my surprise, it resonated with so many out there. "Mom, look at this," I'd say to Luca, showing him the screen filled with comments and likes. "We're not alone. There are so many rooting for us." And then came the advertisers. Their offers turned my little corner of the internet into a thriving source of income. I was stunned, overwhelmed, but above all, I was empowered. "Can you believe this, Luca?" I whispered, tucking him into bed. "We're doing it. We're really doing it." But with every success, the tension in the house grew thicker. Maria and Sofia couldn't stand it. The way I turned their ridicule into my armor, their disdain into my driving force. "What's this now, Cora? Playing the star while the rest of us do the real work?" Sofia spat one day, her eyes venomous. I stood my ground, Luca on my hip, my heart stronger than ever. "It's called turning the tide, Sofia. It's called taking back control. And if that bothers you, well, that's your problem, not mine." The house that once felt like a prison was now just a backdrop. My world was larger, brighter, filled with the love of my son and the support of a community that saw me, the real me. The success of my online channels was a sweet victory, but it brought a new kind of challenge. Marco was stunned by the numbers, the comments, the sheer scale of it. But his pride was bruised. He didn't want the world, especially his family, to see the shift in our roles. "Cora, this is incredible, but you know how my mother and Sofia are. Please, let's keep this between us. I don't want them thinking I'm not the provider," he pleaded one evening, his eyes begging for understanding. I sighed, the weight of his request heavy on my shoulders. "Marco, I'm proud of what I've achieved. It's not just about the money. It's about respect, about independence." He nodded, his hand reaching for mine. "I know, and I respect that. But in this house, it's complicated. Let's just keep it our little secret for now." I agreed reluctantly and began transferring $4,000 a month to Marco's account. The irony of the situation wasn't lost on me. Maria and Sofia continued their tirade, oblivious to the truth. They saw me as a leech, living off their precious son and brother. "You're just a freeloader, Cora. Always taking, never contributing." Maria would snarl, her words sharp as ever. I get back my retort, the secret of my success a silent shield against her barbs. "I contributed my own way, Maria. Not that you'd ever acknowledge it." Sofia was no better. "What do you even do all day, Cora? Lounge around while we do all the real work." Their ignorance was a bitter pill, but I swallowed it. My focus was Luca, my channels, my newfound strength. I'd walk with my son in the park, my camera a constant companion, capturing the moments, the workouts, the real me that they refused to see. "Cora, you're wasting your time with those videos." Maria would scoff, watching me edit my latest post. But the numbers told a different story. The subscribers, the views, the comments, they were real, tangible. They were mine. Maybe to you, Maria, but to me, and to thousands out there, it's anything but a waste. I'd reply, my confidence unshaken. Marco's restaurant troubles added another layer to our already complicated life. He came to me one day, his pride barely holding back his desperation. Cora, the restaurant, it's struggling. I need help. Would you lend me some money just to tide things over? His vulnerability was a rare sight, and it tugged at my heartstrings. Of course, Marco, I'll help, but this isn't just a loan. It's an investment in us, in our family. His relief was palpable, but it was tinged with the unspoken truth. I was the lifeline, the silent savior of the family facade. As I transferred $10,000, I watched the gratitude and the guilt in his eyes. I knew the balance had shifted. Time in that house felt like a ticking bomb, and each day brought us closer to the explosion. Sophia's marriage brought her husband Rick into an already cramped space. His presence only added to the chaos and tension that had become a constant in the house. "You two just take up space," Maria would sneer.